There we go. Interesting that this was still on. Okay. Well, welcome back to Ace Attorney. After Edge of Sanity, we go to Edge of Insanity. Alright. Yes, on the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. No, we are doing the same thing again, but worse. Yes, far worse. By the way, apparently, this game becomes better when we start the second game, because this game is like 2 games. But when we have finished the first game, the second game seems to be much better. Hold it! The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe. Yes, that's right. If I remember correctly. It all started because of a note that was tucked into the pages of a book belonging to Mr. Gerda. A rather passionate note, in fact. But Mrs. Gerda found the note, discovering her husband's little secret. And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too. She's so happy about that. What a sordid state of affairs. Hell on earth. That is an anime, by the way. I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's common decency not to drag it all up. Maybe. And besides, half of it was wide off the mark anyway. Whatever that means, Mr. Moonface. A likely story. I'm actually waiting for the moment she's like literally smashing the teapot into his face. These waters run very deep. And what transpired next after these multiple blows to the face? Knocked a candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out though and got the window open. And the fire also spread to some items of furniture, didn't it? The bookcase, my armchair, anything of mine really. Just so happens there was some bath water around that evening, so I sloshed that about to put it out. Oh no, he's selling bath water. Oh no. The most precarious situation you put yourself in. Ours is a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, where the water main isn't connected yet. So he suddenly have a bath water laying around, huh? Yep. Have to draw water from a public water pump during the day if you need any, you see? That's kinda shitty. The lodgers are always moaning that they can't get any water at night. Although, that little moustache Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe. Yes, buy water in bottles. Here's also something you have to remember. At those times, there were no plastic bottles. So that means the bottle is made of glass. Imagine that. Like, imagine you're dragging around 20 glass bottles of waters home. Question 1, how is he even doing that? And secondly, it would be not a lot to, well, you know, fill a bathtub with it. Then again, I don't think these people have even a bathtub. How do they shower? How do they clean themselves? I mean, I didn't see a toilet or a bathroom for these guys. They had like one room. Is that like one room where you rent and then there's a public toilet and a public bath for everybody? Dude must be an Olympic athlete. Or maybe he just believes in the heart of the cards, you know? You better believe it, Dr. Boyo. The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off. What? Have you actually seen the state of the man? I believe he uses all of his income to buy books. Yes. Well, anyway, the point is, I was able to douse the fire with water. Fortunately enough. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him. Hold it! Even though the room was on fire? As far as I'm concerned at the time, it was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. Woman, just throw. And she gave up. Oh, she doesn't mean like that. Okay. That is most certainly not true. Of a Susato takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How did she know I was thinking that? So, please, can you cast your mind back and try to remember? Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day? In all honesty, I don't recall. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, a sponge, a napkin. Imagine getting garlic thrown at you. Imagine getting a cabbage thrown at you. You know, not the small cabbage, like the big cabbage, the big chunky one who's like a human head size. Imagine that is getting thrown at you. How? Excuse me. Do you have something to add, sir? What did he do with his pipe? He spinned it. Mr. Curtin. Don't shoot. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind? Nothing of significance, no. Just at the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, and the fire poker, he seemed to recall. Ouch. Oh no. What is she doing? I couldn't even read what he said. Why the heck would she pour tea into his pipe? What is wrong with these two? Good grief, woman. We're not at home now. This is a court of law. Oh, dearie me. I was so sorry, dear. What's she even doing with that teapot in here? Honestly, John, I would never have thrown such things at you, obviously. Well, take a look at this then. How do you suppose that happened, Your pipe, sir? That's offensive. My trousers are closed. Had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did, yes. Oh, he means this because he repaired the pipe. And when I picked the thing up, it was broken in two. I would like to see a sponge do that sort of damage. I see. Your penis was broken. I mean, your pipe was broken. It would never have been sent flying unless I was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now. Oh, you are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear? I wonder what we should make of this account. Could be important. The defense believes Mr. Keretep's remarks just now to be of great significance.
Objection!
Of course. These war veterans' words only tells us one thing. Betray a fiery wife, and pipes as well as hearts may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worth of adding to the formal testimony. Indeed, common sense, one might say. Might one? In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir? Let us examine your pipe, sir. Oh, well, I don't see why not. That's your penis, sir. Well, you asked for my pipe. Oh, dearie me. Here you go again, trying to ingratiate yourself with a young lady. Very well, the court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence. Sorry. Looks to be in a sorry state, with that bandage around it, doesn't it? But for some reason it feels slightly ominous to me, like it's trying to shout out a warning. Probably because the same blue as Mr. Keretep's dressing gown. I suppose it must have considerable sentimental value to Mr. Keretep. Also my voice. given that he's gone to the trouble of repairing it like this. Either that or he can't afford to replace it. That's a piece of porcelain? No, no, no. This is the tip of the blade. Oh, something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe here. Yes, I saw it. Something stuck in there, I think. Let's turn it over and give it a shake. What is this? It's a tiny fragment of metal. Where could it belong to? It looks like the tip of a blade or something. Where could it belong to? The tip of a blade? Where could it belong to? Surely it couldn't be belonging to this rose. I don't think there's any more to this. This is the tiny piece of metal we found in the chamber of Mr. Geredep's pipe. It certainly doesn't look like it could belong to a blade. It looks like the tip of a blade or something. Or a knife. But it certainly is part of a rose. Tip of a blade? Could it belong to a rose? It's something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? I don't really know, but I think it's a petal of the rose. It's just something niggling me, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Could it be a petal of a rose? Perhaps in that case, it would be wise to examine some of the other pieces of evidence again. They're like trying to be smart, but let's face it, they're idiots. What was the input? Oh, space was the input. No, could it be this? Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo, just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. What could it mean, Mr. Naruhodo? Wait, part of it is missing. Could it mean it was part of the burned book? Could be wrong, but I've just got a feeling it could be part of a broken book. You remember this? Ah, that's genius! It's part of a broken book. And have a shit in England. That's the tiny fragment of metal that we found inside of Mr. Geredep's pipe. Yes, and just maybe it perfectly fits on the rose. It's perfect, and this knife was part of a broken book. Oh my! It's a perfect fit. I know, right? It's a perfect fit. You can take it to the base. Hi, Bob. Cheers, Bob. Somehow, I just knew it was part of a rose. Do I need to further investigate this? Who would have thought that the tiny piece of metal we found in Mr. Geredep's pipe would be a perfect fit to this broken book, I mean missing tip of the knife from the victim's back. I feel so smart. It's extra common, isn't it? And it fills me with a sense of awe. It surely proved that miracles can happen. Miracles! God. He's so dumb. Yes, a more miraculous proof I couldn't ask for. Now I can get myself a bowl of ramen. I wanna cry. I hope I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruhodo. I was just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request was turned down. Oh no, it's fine. We're both dumb. Thanks to Susie, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully, as we just did. Well, thank you for that rebuttal, Mr. Herder. Now, if we could return to the crux of the matter. What can you tell the court about the knife used to attack the witness? What can you tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim? Well, I did it. Plenty of knives around our place. Can't say it would notice if one or two went missing, I'm afraid. Hold it! Sorry? Would you care to elaborate? Nothing to say, really. Rather partial to a spot of carving, you see. Pipes and whatnot. Fishing tackle. You know, the sort of thing. It's a passion we both share. I like to carve little wooden trinkets too. And then there's my leather work. Uh-huh. Sorry to say, we're always losing knives about the place, and we have dozens of the things. They sell them at the market sometimes, 20 for the price of 19. Needless to say, I snapped them up. No. Buy 20 knives now and pay only for 19. You know how expensive that would be? John prefers to use 2 knives at meal times too, instead of a knife and a fork. John prefers to use 2 knives at meal times too, instead of a knife and a fork. Okay, so he's on his way to become a cannibal, I see. A metropolitan modern cannibal, though, because he uses 2 knives. No, Joan, we don't people think... Ah! Here we go again with the scoldings. Why are they being so evasive? I imagine it's because we don't want to believe it. They can't bear the thought that it might have been some of their knives that injured the victim. Which is entirely understandable, of course, but still. Go on with your testimony, witness. Sure. If that belly thing in the victim's back really was one of ours, you'll have a job proving it, I think. Which we can. Hold it! So you have no intention of admitting it was your knife, unless we can produce proof? Even though there is no other credible possibility if Mr. Natsume is innocent. Objection! You forget, my Nipponese friend, that it has yet to be established that the accused is not responsible for the attack. As if I could forget. Only there was some way to know who had handled the knife. Coffee, did you handle my knife? But I suppose wizardry like that is just a dream. Perhaps you're thinking of fingerprinting, Mr. Naruhodo, a technique that was born in the UK What? You mean it's not a dream? That sort of wizardry really exists? Whenever people touch anything, they leave behind a unique pattern from their skin, or so they say. But I can't see anything. Well, yes, of course you can't see anything because Mr. Gary Depp cut off his fingertips first before he touched the knife. There are already countries in the world where these so-called fingerprints can be used as evidence. Lord Strongheart is currently discussing the matter at the Ministry of Justice. Touch the tips. The tips are touching. That's always good. Yes, I believe we are rapidly approaching an era of scientific methods of investigation. Yes, you might, but now we have already reached the next level. We can literally tell. You know, it's kind of scary when investigators actually can prove where someone was standing firing a firearm because of the small particles that are getting pushed around in the room. They can pinpoint it backwards to the exact position. It's kind of scary. They can literally analyze all particles in a room and recreate the stuff. But for now, we shall have to find an alternative method of proving our assertion. Which we already have. That this knife found in the victim's bag was originally in Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. Gertup's house. If only I can transplant this whole incident to several years in the future. Smile. That's the extent of that testimony, is it? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Could we prove anything in that? No. Well, I think I've ever heard this before, to be honest. Can't say I'm particularly confident that we'll be able to prove anything new from this testimony. But in this cross-examination, it's absolutely essential to lose that we establish how this knife came to be at the scene of the incident. Yes, I know. I'm sure both of them must be feeling very worried that it was in fact a knife belonging to one of them that caused the victim's injury. If we could... that's me. If we could find even a tiny shred of evidence to support that theory, haha, smile, it would be a clinch. It would clinch this trial for us. It would explain everything. The beginning of the universe, the existence, how the UK came to be, how the UK got invaded by Vikings, how Vikings came down to be, why Odin was in Greece. Yes, it would. So, for Saska's sake, we must find that last crucial piece of evidence we already have.
Objection!
Mr. Gertup, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please? You can ask, but I can't see a belly thing. You can't? Used to call me Dead-Eye Dep back in the regiment, of course, but that was some time ago. Even when I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days, I struggle to tell a B from a D and a P from a Q, to be honest. A butt from a dick and a penis from a quality time. I don't know. Oh, he does. Dearie me, it's rather wearing being asked about every other letter in every other word. Why? You have a brain. You have a brain. It is already proven that even if you have only the first and the last letter of a word in a sentence, like you can read stuff and only partially see part of the word, even if it's just the first letter and the last, your brain can fill it in. Yes, it sucks if you mistake those letters, but it is logic. You see the word and you don't say to yourself, is it big or is it dick? I don't know. You must be very dusty. You must very doozy. I'm sorry. Big dick. Big DLC, you know? DLC is actually just a capital letter I. Buy our dick. Yes. What is that? A tiny scrap of metal. Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first just to be a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence? It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Gertup's pipe. Me, dick, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. Let's hope it wasn't his dick. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it is in some way related to the matter of the stabbing of Briar Road? With this broken knife that we found? Oh my god, I'm so not smart. Why is he punching himself? Like, why is he slapping himself? I am. I thought you are called a lawyer. What? When put together with the other piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth to this case. The whole truth. Does it? It will only prove that the knife was from their household. It still doesn't show who actually stabbed the woman. She's standing on a box. I didn't notice that she was standing on a box. You appear rather confident in that extra common statement, Counsel. Very well then, present the pertinent evidence to the court. Blah, 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 blah.
Take that!
This is the knife that was found in the victim's bag. If you look closely, you will see that there's a small piece at the tip of the blade that is missing. You know what? She did throw that at him, and I don't know why. I don't know how you managed to do this shit. I can only imagine that she literally had the knife with the blade out, threw it at him, and he, like by reaction, with the pipe in his hand, did like a swinging motion to kind of like, to block it away, but it hit exactly the pipe, and because of the swinging motion he's doing, I know this is really confusing and makes no sense, but let's say he swings that, the thing hits the pipe, and because of the swinging motion, and maybe let's say he hits as well the frame of the window, it literally broke apart from it and then dropped down. That would still be very unlikely because it is a metal blade. And breaking off the tip of a metal blade is pretty difficult to do. Regardless, because the tip is missing on the blade, that explains why the victim is not dead. A common issue with the inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in the victim's bones. And what of this particular knife? No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim.
Objection!
No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Here's pipe. Oh! Oh! What wants you? I don't believe it. You put a steak into my mouth. Delicious. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match. Good golly jolly Jesus, and other things in the UK. Order. Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery? What's wrong with these people? It's like, oh, this is sorcery. You put two things together and they just fit. How do you do that? Nothing fits in the UK. Not even the government and the people. This is no magic, my lord. This is called a saw, a jigsaw. This is a miracle. Okay, come on. Then Six, please don't let me now make me also lose my faith in you as the one single most character with an actual brain in his head. Vampire sorcery. A miracle? Yes, it's Christmas. So, Van Six has figured it out, has he? Counsel, explain this common coincidence at once. Yes, my lord, the crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is when did the fragment of the metal find its way inside Mr. Here's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony. I had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Knocked it clean out with one of her soft projectiles, she did, yes. It would never been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Oh look, she's shaking, Oh, dearie me. During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Curtis flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Curtis, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time, which caused the tip to break off, of course. Of course! Good lord! Yes, and this is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside of Mr. Curtis's pipe. The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1. Oh no. And yet, there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out of the open window. Ah. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Curtis's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below. Oh gosh, oh dear, oh no!
Objection!
I just noticed that Garrett's back is burned. A full-bodied theory, I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points plausible arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument. Sorry? But after all, it's just a theory. A vampire theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. You mean knotted? Corked! Oh, okay. Because, you see. Oh yeah, leggy's time. It's spoiled by an insurmountable inconsistency. Just like my foot. In your face. An insurmountable... Nani? Lord Van Six, explain yourself. What is this inconsistency you claim to have identified? Nice legs, by the way. An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with the knife planted in the middle of her back. Yeah, we didn't go there yet. It still proves it's their knife. Yes, in her. What's right, you silly little man? Now, Joe, an odd thing. What are you getting so excited about? Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that struck her had fallen from above, there's no possible way it could have planted itself into the victim's back. considering that the weight of that knife is in the backside where you hold it, the handle. So yeah, even if it was thrown outside, it most likely would have turned while flying down and would land with the handle on the pavement, or it would be in a kind of a horizontal way. So here's the so it's still like a weird question. Maybe she got hit with the knife on her head, but she's also wearing a hat, which would dampen that fall. Also, considering she also had the book in her hand. So that's still like these strange things we have not yet explained. But he cannot take this and say like now it doesn't count for anything because it still proves it was their knife.
Order! Quite right, you see? That's exactly right. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on the top of her head.
Well, it's lost for words. Look, I knew it. I never liked his theory in the first place. I don't know though what really did happen.
It would appear the defense has made a rather spectacular blunder.
It's no blunder here. We have proven it's the knife. If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. What is this? That's basically saying like, you cannot prove who actually murdered someone. Therefore, it doesn't matter if the knife belongs to them. We ignore this fact now. Your theory, my learned friend, is history. Wow, he's hungry. Angry vampire. We were so close. I could see the truth. No, you couldn't. You only proved the knife. We couldn't see how the rest is. I was so sure we were on the right track. But now the way has been blocked completely by just one simple inconsistency. Or in other words,
We simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency and the theory will stand.
Miss Susie.
You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard, that's all, and your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. Look in this flashlight. The key to this court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there.
It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Well, your silence speaks volumes, and I can write a book about that and sell it for profit. A tacit acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed. And you will make no money from the ads of your video about this. This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong way. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. And I'm really good at studying tests. You know? So we have this. We have this, which proves it's the knife. Okay. We have this that proves it was on their street side. This doesn't matter. We still don't know why this book was in her hand. We still don't know if she was unconscious on the street because something like fell on her head. But when we look at it, there's no dent in the head, in the hat. So I don't think it actually was something that was falling on her head. And by the way, if the game is going and says like, yeah, there was something falling on her head, so she passed out, then I will question this heavily because she would literally have a dent in the hat for that. A hat in time. This is weird. Like, okay, so we have one more thing that we can prove. But a young woman rendered unconscious following a stab wound to the back. Let's face it, someone stabs you, be it a sharp blade or not. You will not fall unconscious unless it would be an immense shock to you. And the ways falling unconscious are usually related to other things, like a lack of oxygen, for example. The victim remains unconscious. Her name was gleaned from her personal effects. Other details unknown. Apart from a single stab wound from a large knife, no other signs of injury were observed. The assailant was seen running away. You know, at this point, we could ask ourselves, wasn't she like, that liquid that you can use like to make people fall unconscious or aka fall asleep? What if that was used? Because, like it says, there is no other injury. If something would have hit her head, one thing would be a dent in the hat, and the other thing would be it would be noted here and said like she has like an injury on her head, which would be normal if something would be falling several meters from above on your head. But that wasn't the case. You know, it's weird. Let's say the book fell out of the whole fight down on the pavement. She picked it up. And now the weird thing is that Sasuke is a book lover, a bookworm. What if he saw the book in her hand and was like, I want this book? But it makes no sense. Why then create a scene of murder? Mm-mm. That made no sense. I'm a bit lost here because I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Because the game is now, you have everything you need to prove this. Like, no? I have mail. In what sense? You've got mail. Oh. What do you mean? That I just unlocked an achievement? I'm confused. What do you mean, coffee? Um. Hmm. These only prove that it was the knife from them. This only proves it was on their pavement side. This is just a rule book. There's something in the mail. It's these nuts. Nice. I'll take those nuts for later enjoyment. When I missed Peter, what happened? You know, I don't understand. Why is this trial going on? This makes no sense that this trial is taking place right now, while this woman is still unconscious. Like, excuse you, but can we just start this trial when she's back from being unconscious? Because she is the most important witness in this entire thing. Even if she says, like, I didn't see my attacker, she could still add a lot of stuff to this. I don't get it. I don't get what I have that proves anything. Yes. Can just cast necromancy spells to wake her up and ask. You know, at this point, I'm more like, she's still unconscious? You know, that's actually very, very bad. Like, it's one thing to be in a coma, and it's another thing to be asleep. But she is apparently unconscious since over a day. That is very bad. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of the back. Under normal circumstances, that is. What are you implying? Yeah, what is he implying? Counsel? There's a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. So what I see is even more necromancy spells needed, yes. That can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. What? We already have the answer. No, you have apparently the answer. Goodness. Utter madness. Surely this must be the last time. Answer, present evidence to which of you speak. This is the last inconsistency, the final piece of the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is bareback, yes. What? Oh, wait. Wait, that is his explanation. No, not like that. Not here. Live streaming it. It's this. It's the bouquet. And you know why? Because the bouquet was lying there and she picked it up. She picked the bouquet up because she saw it lying on the pavement there. And then the knife actually dropped on her into her back. But still, it had no tip. So, still a knife falling a few meters from above with a dull tip and then still manages to get through the clothing and into her back is quite astonishing. It's like, and the knife is out. It's starting to fall and Earth decides to increase gravity by 5 times. Yes, it's G4. Yes, and the knife hits the victim. It's gonna be this. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be this. But at the same time, I still think it's ridiculous that a dull blade would do this to her.
Take that!
This is the final piece of evidence that the defense will present. That was funny.
That answer appeared to make Mr. rather lightheaded. But Mrs. didn't bat an eyelid.
He's flabbergasted. It would seem you've been cut down in your prime. You must watch out for blades falling from the heavens, my learned friend. They may strike at any time. Hark. Okay, so it was wrong. Okay, that is interesting. That was wrong. Huh. Interesting. The divine smite in question. Okay. I mean, it's unlikely that the knife has, like, enough speed to do that. But the roses were not, like, you know, weird. So it's the book, isn't it? It's the book, right? She picks up... I'm an idiot. It's the book, of course. That's the reason why she had it in her grasp. The book was already on the pavement. She passed by, saw the book, picked it up. Right. The knife fell straight down and hit the victim in the middle of her back. And her back must have been facing heavens at the time. Yes, because she picked up the book. But why? What could have happened that might place her in that position? it's the book. Whenever the music stops, it's correct. This, the fourth book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence that the defense will present. The burned book.
Is that not Mr. Here's book?
Yes, and to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene of in the first place. This photo clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand. But as we all know, it was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that.
Right, so as part of this wholesale transplanting the crime scene to the opposite side of the road.
That's true. However, as part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. Yes, I remember. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. In other words, the victim had already picked the book up on her own volition. And clearly, that must have been before she suffered the knife wound.
Well, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she would have been doing much of anything. Oh, it's just a knife in my bag. It's just another Thursday in London. It's fine. Let's pick up this book.
So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand?
Boy, Jingo!
But whatever Jingo is.
I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now. Oh dearie me.
You know, here's the thing. In this entire case, nobody was murdered. But what we have proven is that a police officer manipulated a potential crime scene because he was meaning it in goodwill to his wife? And these two had this quarrel, and the entire thing is nothing more than an accident, actually. But let's put Nipponese under the fire. Let's murder him. We know that the book fell from the top floor of the household onto the pavement below. At precisely the moment the victim was walking past. Yes, at exactly that moment, the young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her.
The book I threw?
Yes, Mrs. Gerda. And what do you think that woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement? I would start to cast the summoning circle to the nether regions.
Well, I can't really imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up.
Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book.
Oh, heavens!
And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into her middle of her back. Stride. And at the same time, walking by chance directly behind Miss Green, was the defendant, Mr. Sasuke Natsume. Well, I never... It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor. In the dark and the fog, he didn't see the knife falling on her from above. Whoa! And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place. No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. A series of unlikely events. That's actually a book. A series of unfortunate events, or something like that. And that is the truth behind this case. Jesus, when you think about it, when this case is over, a constable and his wife dies. This old man and his wife dies. And Sasuke dies. Like, 5 people are going to die because of this case. Experience culmination fragment. Yes. Very good. Plus points to anybody who understood Coffee's quote here. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Kirita. The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicion. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that. There, OB. Poor Mrs. Garrett. Garrett. Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. I let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book. And I threw that knife as well. John, dear. It's all right. I know. We can now extend our business and place into a dungeon, which is cool. Charged for manslaughter and domestic violence, also arson. Charged for modern metropolitan speech. I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry. And she's down. I'm sure that is going to go well with his broken knee. Look, she cannot be charged for arson, because if he is not filing a charge against her for that, it is no thing. Same for domestic violence.
seeks. What news of Mrs.
HERE.
She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events had left her in an especially flustered state. Oh my. Hot nurse and hot doctor action? Oh wait. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There is no cause for concern.
Yes, unbeknownst to themselves, they caused what could have easily been a terrible tragedy. They shall prepare themselves for the consequences of their action. Dungeon.
And dragons, I mean vampires. There is some good news, however, me lord. I have just word from the hospital where the victim is being treated. She is awake now, and we could have done this entire bullshit now, where she was awake and could have told us the truth from the beginning. What a waste of my time. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon. It's strange, we've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her.
How wonderful! The woman is out of danger, it seems, and another woman is in danger instead.
Yes, that's good news.
So, Mr. Sasuke Natsume. Yes? On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir. I'm so sorry that we put you in jail. I guess we give you this, I'm sorry on paper, and you can go your way. It's not like we should charge you. We should give you some money or anything as an excuse for wrongly accuse you of murder. You came from distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture. And a great British culture it is.
Here is 2 quids for your trouble. Have a nice day. 2 quids would be a lot in this time.
And have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies. We are sorry that we have accused you of murder. Nipponese man. Small, short Nipponese man. Let us have a wonderful conversation where we're going to mock you with our racism.
Thank you, Bob. You know, it's really cheap when you think about it. That is extremely cheap of like saying like, oh, I'm sorry. And then you can go. Like at this point, the court itself should be held responsible for this. Or should I say England itself? Look, Saskia, look. Can you just stay silent? Don't say anything. Just accept the racism and go your way.
No, it is me who should be begging your pardon.
Oh, God. Oh, no, Mr. Natsume.
That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before me eyes, I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion. What conclusion, sir? I was sure the woman was dead.
Yes, Constable Beat said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. Oh God, he starts talking. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to the life here. I can't relax. I'm sure there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, like they're haunting me. Poor Sasuke. His imagination really has got the better of him. Yes, that poor man. Wait, that isn't a man. So when it happened, I thought the young woman had been taken by the fog spirits. I should have never dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. Oh God, he's so Japanese. Could he please stop? He's like, oh no, I made a mistake. It's normal to make mistakes, but oh no, I created a rift between the trust between our two empires because I stand here in the name of Nipponese. Can we send him back to jail, please? And for that, I'm truly sorry. Don't worry, you will just die after this call. One could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by the spirit and let false conclusion, and evoked British sorcery. Ha ha! But I'm still scared of Nipponese sorcery. But thanks to Lord Van Zeeks and our young lawyer here from the east, that chain has now been broken and the spirit exorcised. What is he talking about? I heartily commend you both. Oh. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decision regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court? As the foreman of this jury, I can assure you we've reached a fair and just conclusion. Everybody ready? Guilty, guilty, guilty. I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times. Well, I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure. Sitting in one of the old beans while she's out of action, you know, but I know what her decision will be. Does that mean I'll finally be able to get out of here and start to work? Well, it's about time. Jesus, speak of someone who's being addicted to work. Okay, or as well, for living. I see, I have a corker of a story to tell my grandchildren when I get home, won't I? Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decision. Mr. Foreman.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
I would be scared as a judge. Like, this thing always explodes next to you. Very well, Mr. Sasuke Natsume, I hereby pronounce you man and wife. Still, where does the firework come from? And why would you fire a firework inside? And finally, Mr. Natsume. Yes, Lord Sir. Fuck off! I mean, you are now free man once more. It is my hope that you will continue to further your education in British culture and enjoy our racism to the fullest extent, and may you never again be brought before me. Oh, yes, sir. Of course, sir. On my life, I swear I'll never set a foot in courtroom again. I'm transported to tears. Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned. And yet 5 people are going to die. Oh, locum. Wait, you mean me? Of course. Is there not a locum here? What is even a locum? Is there even one? Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? What's wrong with using my actual name? Oh, Dad, I'm free. I'm free. Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation. Heady, hearty happiness, hooray. Oh, I'm pleased. Mr. Natsume is delighted. Would it be so hard just to say that then? Locum, you did it. You saved me from the brink. Well, what happened to that poor woman was in no way your fault. That's not what I'm saying, so here's your text. Thank you. Well, what happened to the poor woman was in no way your fault after all. I'm just glad everyone can see that now. No, not that. Lovely, loyal, locum, lawyer. Yes. I mean, as I said before, I have just never got used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners, I see towering brick buildings. And from high up windows, I see them looking down on me, laughing. Look at that little hunchback. Oh dear, I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume. Racism doesn't exist. But today, you, locum lawyer, gave me gloom the boot, das Boot. You stood firm behind that baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold, the best barrister ever born!" What? He becomes a barrister? Well, that's very flattering, I guess, and we're very pleased for you. That makes 49 quids. Now. This has given me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan. An anecdote? Is that what's to become of all my hard work? Ah, there you are, my dear fellows. Oh god, it's him. I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you. My loins are quivering.
I see. I am here not a moment too soon. A disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say.
Oh,
The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo, and I wish you the very best luck. It's just finished. What? No, then my haste was in vain? Ah, it's you. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, have we met, sir?
this is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Take some of my racism. Our previous encounter have taken place in the gloom, either of your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the light. Charming. This is all your fault, Herlock Sholmes. You're the reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. My apologies, sir, but I assure you I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not? Had she been taken to the hospital more urgently, I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now. Oh. But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. Oh, but human after all. Good song. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience. I do feel very badly about how I behave. Well, never mind. Now then, what was it that you wanted to say to me, sir? Nothing. Priceless. Oh, I'm sorry. Really, but that was quite priceless. Poor Sasuke. Still, on the bright side, you've had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And it would seem you were not even found guilty. But there is no bright side.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsume?
Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits and now by the Reaper. Ah, Lord Van Six. I haven't forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means. Even if you're found not guilty, you're still doomed. It... Cursed by anime. Yes.
It will be alright, Mr. Natsume, because I'm the executioner of the Reaper. I will delightfully slice you open tonight.
Oh.
If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you with this knife and this spoon. Hiya!
Why am I getting thrown around?
With a perfectly executed Susato takedown.
Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be nice next time, Susie. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? Going to die. You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan?
Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon. Oh, but I need to murder you before that. It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. I've visited universities, libraries, bookshops. I've been honored with the tutelage of professors. I've learned so much about the wealth of literature here and the city it has shaped. And I've come to realize that it is my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it, as they will belittle me and laugh at me for this cursed knowledge I have brought upon them. That is very touching, Mr. Natsume, just like my hand in your guts tonight.
Or, in perhaps less veiled terms, you wish to withdraw halfway around the world to escape the terror of the Reaper's curse?
That is not it at all. The more I learn of literature, the more this strange feeling claws at my insides. Or just me tonight. I feel compelled to return to my roots and attempt to pen a work of my own.
Oh, I see. A work of literature by Sasuke. Could it be an interesting read? Could it be about him watching how his entire family and his distant relatives are getting murdered in one fellow swoop night? Will it be an interesting read? About friendship, about loss, about good and bad? And what about Miss Susie and yourself, Mr. Naruhodo? Sorry, what about us? Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot? Why would we?
A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London, and we very much enjoy our stay, especially considering that we will continue to sleep on the street because this dumb ass, he didn't accept his payment from the last client, who's dead, by the way. And only now does it feel as though we have finally found our feet. They are in our shoes.
And you are accommodated in a street at present, are you not?
That's right. It's a very comfy street with a little bit of good snow to lie down. But we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. It actually already did. That's why we go to another street. I've calculated we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted. Yes, we use the street and leave the coins on the pavement before we move on to another street.
Well,
Well then, you could take my lodgings.
no. Oh, the windowless room?
But what it lacks in windows, it more than makes up with Linux and the ceiling and walls.
Great.
And of course, I would be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit. Oh my, an evil spirit? Are you talking about me? Oh yes. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's
infallible, it's an infallible wake-up call. I would call it a lack of oxygen, but okay. Well, I think about it if that's alright. Perhaps I can offer a more welcome alternative. How about the cellar of my house? Usually I put the dead corpses down there, but it's okay, that means you also have free food. Isn't it great? Would you consider taking lodgings with me?
Really?
Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself. I threw out the little girl, you know, that was like 12 years old and living with me for no reason. Oh, it's up in the attic, I might add. Since I'm an eldritch being, up is down, so therefore it's the cellar, not the attic. Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft? I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of?
Oh, this is simply wonderful. Yes, we had to sell our luggage and all its belongings in it so we could at least eat something. You know, like buy some bread. Snow is a good replacement for water. What an honor! What are you to be invited to taking lodgings in the great detective's office? This is attic. I'm too overcome for words. It's fantastic.
So, suggesting we look elsewhere is out then. Then it's settled. Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. You will get bread and butter on the bread and a glass of water. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. You will be the main course. I don't know what to say, but thank you, and yes, I can't await my death.
Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete the paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long. And don't forget, I will kill you with a spoon.
Somebody's happy. Locum. Locostus. Cap Picard. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted to have met you here in Londinium. Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you too. Smile. It's a shame that we are going to have to say goodbye so soon. I wish it would have been yesterday. Well, I've come to realize that I belong in Japan. I can't deal with this racism. But Locum, we'll meet again one day. Finally he can go home. Yes, finally he can go home. And then in the night, his entire family and his distant relatives are all getting murdered in one fell swoop. Yes, I'm sure. And hopefully by then I'll be a successful lawyer. A lawyer! Hopefully by then I'll be a successful author. Hopefully not. Well, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, Mr. Sholmes. I have little doubt Mr. Natsume will be released in time for dinner this evening. And so, with Sasuke-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Sholmes to what was to become our new home, 2221B Baker Street. Well, let's look at it. He has a stove, which is nice. This one is actually like really good at warming up rooms. Then again, there's no isolation, so there will be no alien here. Well, there's storage here which you cannot use. There's a very empty giant place here. There are no beds. There's a door leading to the underworld. There are onions, I guess. Looks like onions hanging there, which certainly will provide an interesting smell to the attic. And look, there's a shovel to kill Sasuke with, and a mop. I don't know. There's no furniture in this room. So this.
Is where I'm going to draw the summoning circle to hell and kill Mr. Sasuke. I mean, this is our new office, yes.
Our office? I rather like the sound of that.
Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it?
Is it? You know, is it? Like every time someone wants help, they go to Mr. Sholmes instead. Don't even know that we exist in the attic. I hope you can see this, Kazuma. It's only a small step. But I would like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now. So, my dear fellows, do you like the place? Ah, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, thank you so much.
It's a delightful room, Mr. Sholmes. I simply adore it.
Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Iris and I are delighted to welcome you.
I hope everything's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives. We have a lot to celebrate.
How are you having such an angelic voice as a 12-year-old? Iris, you must let me help you.
Alright then, Susie. You can be in charge of the salad.
Splendid.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital? It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us in America. Those were precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is. Sorry? London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, mirth, racism, and stabbings. but the brightest of lights cast the darkest of shadows. Shadows? What do you mean? Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. And I am a two-faced murderer that pretends to be a detective. What? What? Full of nuts. Yes. So once again, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London. May you be stabbed well. Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Sholmes so casually spoke. Average day in London. Sadly, yes. Even today. Get stabbed by this guy. You know, London is a very dirty city. Imagine that like the sky casts like a small line that is actually not filled with smoke. It's like someone is like, ah, actual sunlight dies. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depths of the murk that lay behind it. Oh no, dental care. That's funny. Save your current progress? No. The end of the adventure of the clouded Kokoro. I can only imagine what the next title is going to be. London's people's worst nightmare. Clean, good-looking teeth. Actual, not looking like a zombie. Sun. Clean air. Oh, wow. Of course it had to be the Hound of the Baskervilles. Of course it had to have a case like that. Oh, no. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white hot flames. You mean a daddy werewolf was like staring at you from a distance and you were like, oh nice. Can't be worse than living in the most air-polluted city in China. I wish I could press to the right to see what is on the right. Oh, it actually works. The Adventure of the Great Departure. Bienvenue au La Carnival. Yes, that's French. Oh, that's episode 1. I see. So yes, that basically concludes our the fourth case in the first game. And the Hound of the Baskervilles is gonna be the last and fifth case of the first game. After that, the second game starts. And like I said, like apparently the second game is much better than the first one. Has a lot less of this bullshit going on that is going on in every court case of this game, the first one. So I'm looking forward to that, but this is... It was kind of clear that a case like this would come up. So yeah, we're going to look at that next time.